As we conclude our week on remembering our past, rejoicing in our present, and reimagining our future, I want to invite you to turn to Matthew chapter 5. This is the first of 3 chapters that comprise Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. And one of the things that if you look at, especially in chapter 5, you'll notice a repeated pattern in how Jesus is teaching. And he says, for example, in verse 21, "You have heard that it was said to those of ancient times, 'You shall not murder, and whoever murders shall be liable to judgment.' But I say to you." And so this goes on and on. "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I say to you, it was also said, 'Whoever divorces his wife, let her give a certificate of divorce.' But I say to you, again, you have heard that it was said to those of ancient times, 'You shall not swear falsely.' But I say to you, you have heard that it was said, 'An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.' But I say to you." And then as we near the end of chapter 5 in verses 43 and 44, which are our verses for today, "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy.' But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." And this section of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount is really profound to me, because all of it, in a sense, is Jesus taking the heart of his Jewish tradition. He's really reinterpreting the 10 Commandments and some of the core teaching of Moses and saying, "You've heard that it was said, but I say." And he's taking it to a higher level or a deeper level, whichever image you prefer. And he's taking it from external behaviors, in some cases, to internal motivations. But he's also trying to expand his hearers' understanding of what God was calling God's people to in the Hebrew Bible, in the Old Testament, in the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, especially in the Law of Moses. And this whole idea of loving your enemies and praying for those who persecute you, why? Well, verse 45 tells us, "So that you may be children of your Father in heaven." Because God shows grace and mercy to people who don't believe in God, to people who have no faith, to the righteous and the unrighteous. The same sun shines on us all. And so Jesus is calling us not just to do what's easy. As he said, "If you love those who love you, what is the good of that? What reward do you have? Do not even tax collectors do the same?" Our job is not just to be nice to and kind to those who are like us, who agree with us, who are fellow believers even. Our task is to be like our Heavenly Father. And that means even treating our enemies in a different way than we might expect, or in a way that our enemies might even expect. So, the next time you read the Sermon on the Mount, I encourage you to read it through those lenses of Jesus reimagining a future with God, and it's a future that he invites you and I to join him in helping to bring to earth.